So we've made this knob. Now to texture it, we'll go into edit mode. I'll press Ctrl R to create this loop here, and I'll Shift D to duplicate this loop and right click to set it in place. Now press P to break that loop into its own selection. So now it's a different object. Now we can go ahead and edit it. You can hide your knob if you can't, but I'll leave it open. This is it right here. I'll Alt Shift and click, so I select every of the loop. You can make sure you check around to notice if your loops are selected. Then I'll press E to extrude and S to scale it out. Now what we want to do is create a cutout for this. I mean, you could as well just place a plane under it and call it a day, but we want something that looks a bit more realistic, right? I want to create a circular cutout for this without using booleans. So I press S to scale this, right? I've scaled this out to create that cutout for it because the shape has to sit in something so you can rotate freely. And I'll extrude in E and Z. So I'll press E and Z again to bring it down. So as you can see here, we have this shape. We are having this bent area here. We can fill this in by either beveling, which is what I'll do here. Select that loop with Alt Shift and press Ctrl B, and you have this bevel here. We'll come to this profile section on the left hand side, change this profile to 1, so we have this cutout. Now we need to create that platform. Now select that loop again, and we keep extruding out. We extrude out, and if you are fine with the spacing you have, the next thing you do, you still have to be in edit mode. Shift A, plane, create a plane, and we scale it up, and then we delete only faces. So after deleting only faces, we still select that loop, the squared loop, scale it up. Now we have 4 sides. What we need is 16 sides so we can connect the circle and this part together. So I'll subdivide, right click, subdivide once, also subdivide twice. So you can see here we have 16 here, and then we have 16 here. If you want to know if this is correct, you can go to this section here, this overlays, and check statistics. Now we have 16 sides, and the next thing we'll do is bridges edges. So I'll right click and say bridge edge loops. So as you can see, it bridges this perfectly, right? So you can now decide how much of your square you want, how large should the device be. That is where your specs begin to come in. For my own device, I want it a bit longer here, so I can add labels to the bottom part. So I press E and Y to extrude it on this part. That'll be fine for us, for all we need it for. I have this head here, and now simply put, I can E extrude and Z, I can leave it around here, right? And E extrude, drag it down, E extrude, drag it down, and also I E extrude, scale it in, right? Because I want that that bottom part to be closed, right? I also E extrude, and I can also do something like this. I go to face and grid fill. So the grid fill fills the back here. We can add labels like maker, manufacturer details, and compliance symbols. We have this here, right? We can always make this mesh better, but what we have here is basic enough and can serve us for what we want. So this is our shape, right? Now the next phase of our design will be to go into Figma to create those labels. So let's go to Figma now. So I'm in Figma right here, and I have a design file. This is where I create my designs. Yeah, you can look up videos on how to create a Figma account and how to use them. Mostly free for personal use. You can look up tutorials online on how to use Figma, how to create, basic shapes, but that's what we'll do here. So press F, we'll draw a frame, and our size, we'll give that 500 by 500. Now this color, we want this black. I'll click on this fill section and type black. So first thing we'll do is take this text tool, there's this T icon here, text tool, and click on this section here and type volume, because that's going to be our label. So we have volume here. I bring it to the center. As you're dragging, it shows you this red outline to show you snap to the center. I can also increase the weight of this font. I prefer bold because I would like the user to see the label properly. I'd also bring this size down to about 36. So I press Ctrl D to duplicate this, drag it to the top here, and then I have to ensure it's centered. So in this text property panel, this typography property panel, I'll click on this icon here to ensure that it's centered, and then I would come to this text here, I double click on it, press 0. That's going to be the lowest value our knob can manipulate. So 0 is the lowest value. It probably will be in Figma design. You need to be in Figma draw. So you'll see 3 icons here. Click on the first one. You'll be in Figma draw. That allows you for more illustrative capabilities. You have 0 here centered. We come to this wrench icon, and immediately you click it, you have this radial distribution over here. You can click on the wrench icon again to edit. I want about 10 units of this, and I want my spacing to be around 6, so you can see the knob is shaping up. So if you're fine with what you have there, you can click on the last icon here. It says apply, and you apply all of this transform. Now you can change each and every of these details. So when you're done, you can remove the last one. And now we have these items. So this is what we're going to export into Blender. Now to export, come to my right hand side, I click on export, and I can increase the size. The higher the pixel count, 3x, 4x, the crispier your image will be. So I'll click on 4x, and I'll have to export in PNG. Now the last thing I have to do before I export is to remove this black background, because we don't need it. We only needed it to see what we're doing. So I'll press minus on the right hand side here, click on minus. So this is what we have. So I've named this knob, name your file so you can find your image. So I'll click on export. So we've exported our image from Figma, and we want to use it here. So what I'll do is divide this area into 2, split the work area into 2. I change this from viewport to shader editor. Now I press N to hide this panel here, and I'll click on this box we've created here. I'll create a new material, right? I'll give it black. You go to materials preview to see how your material is looking. It looks basic, looks normal. There's a lot you can do to this material, but for now, we do the basic only. I can reduce this darkness a bit, increase the metallic to about 0.1. Now I can add bump to this. Bump is that roughness on the surface. Every surface has some form of roughness to it. So I'll look for noise texture, enter. I can add the FAC to the height of this here. So you can see our object looks like this. You can always fix this by just either unwrapping it properly or using the object input under the texture coordinate node. What we'll do instead is use the latter, which is way more simpler, and maybe you want to quickly show an idea. You need to have node wrangler enabled. So you can go to edit, preferences, and look for node wrangler. Once you have that enabled, click on Ctrl T, and it adds this texture mapping and texture coordinate nodes to your noise texture. So we connect the object and the vector, so we can have an even distribution, so you can see there's no stretching on this side, and everything looks fine. So the texture shouldn't look like this. This imperfection shouldn't be this pronounced. For this strength, I'll leave it at 1. Distance is where I'll manipulate. So 0.001. Let's start with very small numbers. You can also shade smooth. Now we start 001 is too small. You remove the last one and click on this. You can see it's forming bit by bit. So increase the scaling on this scale part, increase to about 20. So as you can see, this is things are looking up. I can even further increase it to 30. So when we come to our distance, we can reduce it because it still looks sharp. 0.002. So you can see our object is forming. So I'll click this one first, knob first, and I'll click the gadget, and I'll press Ctrl or Command L, and I can link these materials together. So I want to give this material to this knob. So I click link materials, and I have this material linked. As you can see here, we have this material linked. Now the next thing we have to do is to add data texture to this place here. Now how we'll do that? Shift A, and we'll add mix color. Now the first thing we'll do here is to copy this color here and come to this A slot, the A port, paste that color there, and we'll press Shift A to add our image texture. So you locate your image. I've located mine, and then I'll add the color output to this color input here on B. I select the alpha, and I'll connect it to this factor, and select the alpha, connect it to factor, and then the results would have to go into this color input here. Now the next thing you have to do is select this object. We can select the top of our object, by just dragging over this, right, and pressing U to unwrap it. I'd have to unwrap from my point of view, which is the top. It makes it easy for me. So as you can see, our object is showing up. Now to fix that, we'll go to the UV editor because our unwrapping still looks bad. Scale this up and you look on the left hand side to see when these things match up. So you're gonna have to look. So you scale this. So now we have our object applied, and as you can see, it's been applied to this part here. Now, one thing we can also do to prevent problems that might arise is to ensure that other parts are not in this UV unwrapping. So we click, while this is still selected, we press Ctrl I to invert the selection, and we go to node editor, right, to see nothing is there. We also ensure that nothing is there. If you find something here, you right click and you merge to the center and you move somewhere else outside this area so you don't get that clipping. And also to prevent problems later, you can change this from repeat to clip, so it doesn't, so whenever you scale it out, it doesn't keep repeating itself. So I have this object set up, and this is how you texture your knob. And you can see when I start rotating on the z-axis, I can move this shape. You can even animate it and do a lot of things to this. You can even light up this part here. So here we have it. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, like, share, and I'll see you in the next one.